Insellmilkom, Sinjuri, ningrazzjakom li qed issegwu l-programm. Qegħdin fil-Parlament ta' Malta fil-Kamra tal-Oppożizzjoni u llum se nkellmu lil Ivan Castillo. Thank you very much, Ivan, for welcoming us to Parliament this week.
Thank you for coming and thank you for the invite.
I'd like to start by speaking about the motion that caused the opposition to walk out of Parliament this week.
This week, as I think everyone realized, we walked out of Parliament twice. And we walked out of Parliament for a specific reason, because we believe that this motion was completely undemocratic and it was not at all in the best interest of Parliament. When you see something, an issue such as this, where you see a government, instead of using Parliament's time to promote better issues which are realistically happening to people, you find a government that took 2 days, 2 whole days almost, to discuss a motion where it wants to shut the opposition's mouth. The opposition itself is continuously passing on proposals, solutions in Parliament to the government, but the government continues to shoot them down. So you have an opposition who in Parliament is continuously working to give the Maltese people what they deserve as an alternative government. On the other hand, you see a government who is continuously, every single motion, every single private member's bill, every single legal notice which we pass a motion on, continuously shooting down the opposition's idea and not giving any reason why. In reality, in Parliament, you find that the opposition on the majority of laws, we vote in favour because a number of them are laws which can benefit the Maltese people, and we do not want to restrain the Maltese from benefiting from something which is good. To be fair, there are situations where we go to at committee stage and there are changes which we believe we need to apply to make the law better, and we do our job. But then we go back to Parliament and vote in favour. And this is the majority of the laws that we pass in Parliament.
U issa sanatu ħarsa li servizz ta' Net News.
Aħna fl-ewwel sena ta' leġislatura ta' gvern nazzjonalista immexxi minni ser inkunu qegħdin nagħmlu dawn is-soluzzjonijiet biex inti tkun tista' tgħix aħjar, biex inti tkun tista' taħdem biex tgħix, mhux tgħix biex taħdem, biex tkun tista' tgawdi lil uliedek, biex tkun tista' tgħix il-kwalità tal-ħajja illi jixraqlek.
Ex-qar il-kap tal-Partit Nazzjonalista Bernard Grek fit-tmiem id-diskussjoni li saret fil-Parlament dwar l-isfida persistenti tal-ol tal-ħajja. Diskussjoni li kienet xprunata mill-Oppożizzjoni. Bil-kap tal-Partit Nazzjonalista jgħid li għal kontrarju tal-Labor, l-Oppożizzjoni diġà qed toffri soluzzjonijiet biex tiġi miġġielda din il-kriżi li, però, minħabba l-pika, Robert Appella qed iwarrabhom fil-ġem. Bernard Grek insista li l-Partit Nazzjonalista kommess li jimplementa dawn is-soluzzjonijiet fl-ewwel budget tiegħu malli jkun fil-gvern. Fid-diskors tiegħu Bernard Grek elenka l-proposti tal-Partit Nazzjonalista li jiġdu l-viżjoni tiegħu tal-Partit Nazzjonalista d-direzzjoni ekonomika tal-pajjiż. L-ewwel proposta hi t-tneħħija tat-taxxa fuq kull żieda li tingħata fil-pagi u l-pensjonijiet għall-onli tal-ħajja sabiex il-ħaddiema u l-pensjonanti jkunu jistgħu jgawdu żieda b'mod sieħ. Proposta oħra hi dik tat-tax credits għal min iħaddem bħala għajnuna biex iż-żieda li jagħtu fil-pagi tal-ħaddiema jieħdu allura fit-tnaqqis fit-taxxi sabiex ikunu jistgħu jinvestu iktar u joħolqu iktar impjiegi. Il-Partit Nazzjonalista qed jipproponi wkoll il-ħolqien ta' Fond Nazzjonali li jagħti appoġġ finanzjarju lill-operaturi sabiex jitnaqqsu l-ispejjeż li qed iwasslu għall-għoli tal-ħajja u l-bidla fil-mudell ekonomiku ta' pajjiżna sabiex ma jibqax mudell bbażat fuq iż-żieda bla rażan u bla pjan tal-popolazzjoni iżda jsir mudell imsejjes fuq setturi ekonomiċi ġodda li joħolqu impjiegi pagi aħjar. Dawn il-proposti se jsarfu f'żieda għad-dħul tal-ħaddiema u l-pensjonanti, tnaqqis fl-ispejjeż għas-sidien tan-negozji żgħar u medji u l-importaturi u l-esportaturi u f'impjiegi ta' kwalità.
it was a situation where the government voted against the solutions that we proposed for very, very good, thought-out solutions, which were also backed by the social partners, which we gave to government on a silver platter. Instead of taking on these solutions, instead of government making them basically his own and using them to improve people's quality of life, the government decided to vote against them.
For what reason?
And that's the thing that really frustrates me, because there's no reason why, because I would expect if you are going to pass a motion or a counter motion to the motion that the Nationalist Party passed, you would at least give a reason why, or during the discussion you at least mention the reasons why you did not accept these solutions. On the other hand, you find the government which did none of this. All he did was praise himself and write down what he did in the past. But the reality is that people out there know that the situation is dire, that there's still people who are in a critical situation, and they do need help. And we provided the solutions to help these people.
It's without doubt that the cost of living is very high.
Yeah, and it's increasing, which
You
we saw.
can see the difference, I think, between 1 week and the other. And I don't think that's an exaggeration, really.
The majority of people see this in what they buy in the food.
Basics, in basics.
So basically it's food and drink, and you would see that week after week, people keep on telling us that the prices keep on increasing. Now, obviously there are reasons why prices increase, but our solutions addressed these challenges. For example, and this was even mentioned by the Chamber of SMEs, because operation costs increased for businesses, that cost, that additional cost, was passed on to the consumer. So the consumer at the end of the day is paying for that additional cost. Now, one of our proposals was to give tax credits in relation to those operational costs, so that cost does not pass on to the consumer. This way, you're restraining the cost of living. Another one of our proposals was to create a national fund to tackle the impact of the increases on importation exportation. I spoke to someone this morning who told me that the cost of the groceries which you used to buy today is the same, but minus meat, poultry, fish. So basically, it's almost doubled. And we showed this during one of our press conferences, where we took a basket of grocery items in 2020. We bought the exact same items today, and we found that between 2020 and today, the price has increased by 35%. The overall price of the whole basket increased by 35%.
Xirja ta' affarijiet bażiċi li kien għamel ġurnal l-Orizzont f'April tal-2020 u dakinhar kienet tiswa 65 euro u 98 ċenteżmu, illum tiswik 90 euro u 56 ċenteżmu. Dan ifisser li f'inqas minn 5 snin din l-istess xirja ġiet tiswa 24 euro u 58 ċenteżmu aktar jew żieda ta' 37.2%. Dan il-kalkolu sar mill-Partit Nazzjonalista bbażat fuq prezzijiet imnaqsa u offerti speċjali li joffru supermarkets u ħwienet għaliex kieku l-prodotti nxtraw bil-prezzijiet rakkomandati, id-differenza kienet titla l-45.8%. Ix-xirja li tikkonsisti f'affarijiet bażiċi bħal laġin, bajt, ħalib, corned beef, kuskus, soppa tal-pakkett, ċereali, te u polpa fost l-oħrajn illum ġiet tiswa l fuq minn 24 euro aktar minn 5 snin ilu. Dan qed wassal biex il-poplu Malti qed jiffaċċja kriżi bla preċedent tal-għoli tal-ħajja. Meta jiġi konsidrat kemm żdiedu l-pagi u l-pensjonijiet f'dawn il-5 snin, wieħed ma la jifhem għaliex il-pis tal-għoli tal-ħajja qiegħed ta' kuljum jakkes aktar nies.
And it's sad that the government, instead of actually sitting down and discussing the situation, because this is a national issue, with the opposition, and identifying these solutions or similar solutions to how we could address them, and we would go towards, in Parliament, as one whole group, and say, listen, We know that this is a national issue. We are coming together. We are addressing this issue. And this is what we're going to do. Taking on the solutions brought forward by the opposition, they decided, like I said, to cast them away, to throw them out, to almost ridicule them.
And for what reason? Did they not think that these solutions are valid?
Like I said, I expected during the discussion in Parliament to at least listen to the reasons why these were not going to be accepted, but we got no reasons. There was no reasons mentioned.
Therefore, what's the government's solution?
Right now, nothing except what he has done already. So if we're talking about the issue with the electricity and fuels, subsidizing the costs, that was a solution which helped people, without a doubt. And that needs to continue, and that will continue. This false idea that the government is trying to feed people, that the Nationalist Party is going to remove it, is completely and utterly false. We have mentioned it, Dr. Bernard Grech has said it again and again, that we have this challenge and we're going to face this challenge and no one's going to lose anything that they already have.
So, Ivan, can we go back to what we were speaking about before?
The motion passed by government. Again, we have so many things that we could talk about in Parliament and create a positive change in people's lives. But the government decided that this was the most important issue for the nation. And it's sad when you are so close to people and you listen to people and you listen to their challenges and you listen to their worries, and you realize that we could do so much good in Parliament and help and pass laws to help people. But instead of passing these laws, instead of addressing the real issues that people are worried by, we are talking about a motion which is completely undemocratic. Really, the fact that you are trying to close the opposition's mouth, when the opposition's job is to oppose, it is to be as well, try and propose different ideas, to be constructive, and that's what we are. We are a constructive opposition, but the opposition goes by its name. It is an opposition. So part of its job is to ensure that the government is doing its job. And when we see that the government is not doing its job, it is our obligation to ensure that people know, and we act as a watchdog against the government, for the government, to ensure that he stays in line. And it's a sad situation. In my opinion, we could have done so much more good for the people if we discussed issues which have been brought forward by opposition MPs like Ivan Bartolo, like Darren Karabot, like myself and Graziella Attard Previ, which we have private members' bills waiting to be discussed in Parliament.
Can you explain why the opposition walked out of Parliament earlier this week?
Like I explained, it was completely undemocratic, and we wanted nothing to do with that type of discussion in Parliament. There is a lot more good that we could do discussing real issues in Parliament that affect people's lives.
U skopra wkoll li l-poplu irrisponda l-imħabba tiegħu b'imħabba kbira. U verament kienet toħroġ minn qalbu dik il-kelma għażiża li biha nibqgħu niftakruh. Ħabbejtkom u ħabbejtuni. Kienet faċli tħobb lil Patri Pawl għax hu kien imħabba. Kien għal kull wieħed waħda minna laqa sabiħa ma' persuna li fiċ-ċirkustanzi tal-ħajja tbattlet minna nnifisha u ħalliet lill-Alla jgħix fiha.
Can you give us your comments, Ivan, about the significance of the passing of Archbishop Emeritus Paul Cremona?
He was a lovely person. When on the day of his death, if you saw the messages on social media, how much good that this man did and how humble he was. And in his own way, without seeking any form of fame, he actually brought a lot of people closer to the church. And he did a lot of good. I'd like to say that we are a poorer nation without him. I believe that people such as him are treasures, national treasures, that actually worked in the people and not stand on a podium, but he was really in the heart of people. He understood clearly people's needs, and he addressed these needs in his own specific and talented way. I think we are better to have had him.
Erġa' segwi dan il-programm fuq Net on Demand.
In our lives as well.
There was an issue with the wharf known as Ras Khanzir. Can you tell us something about it?
Now, there is a wharf which is being reconstructed right now. And we believe completely that this is a project which adds value to the maritime sector. I'm the shadow minister for the maritime sector. And we are in favor of this project. But we were extremely disappointed to see that this project did not also include what we call a ro-ro ramp. Now, what is this ro-ro ramp? It's like a ramp where ships come and the roll-on, roll-off vehicles can come and unload their products. We believe that for the maritime sector and for this wharf in particular to be universal, to be used to its full potential, that this should have happened as well. Now, this week we heard the minister tell us that the tender, which has been awarded, is going to be stopped. Now, myself, along with Joe Giglio, have made a number of requests and a number of questions to the government so we can have some transparency, so we can have some clarification. So the people who invest in maritime, millions and millions of euros, people within the sector, can put their mind at rest to ensure that things are happening, that the limited space within the port is being used responsibly, that public funds are being used responsibly, and we expect that government is transparent just to put everyone's mind at ease. Like I said before, we're the opposition. Part of our job is to be the watchdog and to ensure that the voice of the people within this sector as well, the maritime sector, is also heard. So it is my responsibility as well, as the Shadow Minister for Maritime, along with Joe Giglio, who is the Shadow Minister for Infrastructure, to ensure that such projects are done correctly. Hopefully, we will have some replies from the ministry where what we asked will be explained, and we can put everyone's mind at ease. On the other hand, because the tender was stopped and they're going to issue a second tender, the Nationalist Party, along with the Malta Maritime Forum, which is a forum which brings all the stakeholders in the sector together, have requested that this ro-ro bridge, this ro-ro ramp, be installed. It's a fixed ramp because in the original plans it was a floating dock, they called it. But unfortunately, due to the unprevailing weather conditions, this may not always be able to be used. This means that you're not using it to its full potential. We also requested that government gives an indication for what this wharf is going to be used for. This is very important for people who want to make an investment. Until now, all I've heard is going to be a universal wharf. But it's important to address what economic activity we want to see in the port. And we see that this wharf is done according to the holistic vision for the maritime sector in the years to come. So that we spend our money wisely and we help the private sector in this maritime sector invest and continue to invest because they can put their mind at rest that the infrastructure can support their investment.
Thank you for explaining that. Can we take a look at Gozo and the connectivity between Malta and Gozo?
This week, myself and Alex Borg also had a press conference on this issue. The week before, MEP Peter Ajus also gave the opportunity for people within the sector to discuss the opportunities and the availability of funds through the EU to improve the connectivity between Malta and Gozo. We're talking about the ferries, the Gozo ferries, which we have at present.
Smajna kif hemm possibilitajiet kbar għal Għawdex u rajna determinazzjoni tal-Partit Nazzjonalista li jwettaq dawn l-aspirazzjonijiet. U għalhekk aħna qed nimpenjaw ruħna hawnhekk u diġà minnija bħala partit u ħankomplu nagħmlu aktar ċara li naraw li jkollna soluzzjonijiet l-ewwel net medium term fl-immedjat biex ikonna vapur ġdid għal Għawdex li jista' jsir bil-flus tal-Unjoni Ewropea anki medium term, ġifieri m'hemmx għalfejn nieħdu 20 ta' snin, iżda rridu wkoll soluzzjoni aktar fit-tul.
First of all, I would like to thank Peter Ajus for creating this opportunity, because it was a very good opportunity for us to actually pinpoint on an item. At the conference, there were myself, Alex Borch, and Dr. Bernard Gregg, who closed the conference with a very inspiring speech where the Nationalist Party actually is putting forward as well a number of solutions. So you can see where the Nationalist Party is today. The Nationalist Party is not only criticizing, which it is bound to do, but also providing solutions to a number of issues which unfortunately are being swept under the carpet. We have a situation today where the tender for the fourth ferry, Nikolaos, has once again been issued. But the time frames which were given within the tender are so short that we're saying that it was actually made to fail.
Right.
Because you cannot find a ferry of that size with those specifications just off the shelf. It doesn't work this way.
So what was the reason for doing that?
The reason was, I think, and we've seen a trend of this, because the last tender that was issued for the fourth ferry, no one bid for it. So what the government did was a private contract with Nikolaos, where Maltese people are now paying 14,000 euros every 8 hours, because that's the maximum time that the ferry can work. 14,000 euros, excluding fuel, because that's excluding fuel. You have to add on more thousands, every single day for a substandard vessel. And I say substandard because it lacks many issues such as accessibility. So what is actually happening now when using this ferry, you find people that cannot access the bridge, and so they will have to remain in their cars. But we are part of the IMO, which have a number of conventions. One of these conventions is the SOLAS, the Safety of Life at Sea. This convention in particular has an article in it, which states that ferries in transit cannot allow people to sit in their cars. And this is for the obvious reasons. It's a safety prerequisite. There's issues about fire, issues where there might be flooding, a number of issues.
In fact, they've really enforced this on the Gozo ferries.
But actually, the Nikolaos, you are allowed to stay in your car, because people who do not have...
who are not mobile?
Cannot go on the bridge. So they are stuck in the car for the whole trip. And this creates a huge issue, because this means that this in particular ferry, the Nikolaos, is not abiding by the regulations. So it's on the government now to ensure that we do find the ferry which is appropriate, and this is what we are proposing. Dr. Bernard Gregg, myself, Alex Borch, during the press conference, and Dr. Bernard Gregg during the conference, we actually put forward a number of Nationalist Party proposes solutions for better connectivity between Malta and Gozo. And what we're saying is we need a new fourth vessel, we need 3 new ferries as well, because these have a lifetime. These 3 vessels already are 25 years in service. We see trends which they're increasing
And it's starting to show, actually.
Yes, yes. And you see a number of trends where you have year on year, the number of passengers, the number of cars crossing between Malta and Gozo is continuing to increase. This means that these ferries are being used even more and more. This increases wear and tear. So they already hit the 25-year mark, which means that they've hit also the lifespan of these vessels. You have MV Nikolaos, which is 36 years, which is already exuberated its lifetime. So yes, we need an investment on environmentally friendly, suitable ferries, which the Maltese and Gozian people deserve. That's number one. Number two, we also want to commission a study to identify the need for the fifth ferry. Because these trends, like I said, they are continuously increasing, as well as the issue of dangerous materials. We want to see that dangerous materials are not taken from Chirkewa, but there are an individual particular route used for dangerous materials. This way, removing these dangerous materials from roads leading from wherever towards
That
Chirkewa.
are populated.
Yes.
Those that are...
And as well, this will have a positive effect on traffic. It will have a positive effect on the possible dangers that these dangerous materials may have, but also create a better solution for the same issue. And as well, we want to see that we have ports which are actually built to grow, where we have ports such as Mġar, Chirkewa, in Gozo, which can create a situation where we can have sectors like the maritime sector, the blue economy, even grow more within Gozo. These create added value jobs, these create situations where the economy can grow more. At present, we have Mġar Port, which serves everyone, which serves the Gozo Channel, it serves the fishermen, it serves the tourism sector, So what we need to do is ensure that the Mġar Port grows. We need to ensure accessibility to these ports, and we need to ensure that we have alternatives just in case something happens. We saw a few days ago, there was an issue as well with a bomb threat on the Gozo Channel. And Gozo was completely paralyzed because all services stopped. Now, where the Gozo Channel stops, both at Chirkewa as well as Mġar, there is what we call the ro-ro ramp, the part where
we've already spoken about.
Exactly.
Yes.
If anything was to happen to this ramp, again, Gozo would be completely paralyzed. So for the security of supply, to ensure that Gozo continues, we have to create alternatives. We have to create a better situation with a bigger port, cleaner vessels, new ferries, to ensure that Gozo continues to grow, and that the Gozian people are given the service which they not deserve, that they have a right for. Because this was a very important point that came up during the discussion with the last Saturday, the Saturday before, during So we need to ensure that the Gozian people have what they deserve, have what they have a right for, and that we also hit all the marks which are related to environment, which are related to sustainable development, which are related to sustainable service between Malta and Gozo.
And to close for today, Ivan, can we take a look at the impact of traffic on the quality of life? It doesn't seem to be improving at all. We've spoken about it many times. Your views going forward as we approach the summer, it's going to get worse.
It's on everyone's mind. It's one of the most let's say, popular issues which are affecting people's lives. It even has an effect on the cost of living. So when you have a situation where you have deliveries and you're not making the same amount of deliveries every day, let's say, for example, you have a delivery person who used to make 10 deliveries a day, but now he's making 8. This means that you either have to increase overtime or you have to do the deliveries another time. And this comes at a cost. this cost, those operational costs that I was talking about before, are transferred to the consumer. There's also the issue of the time spent in traffic. Now, I was talking to someone who said the time that you spend in traffic, actually stopped in traffic, is equivalent to the amount of annual leave that a person has. So you can imagine how many hours we spend in traffic stopped instead of spending quality time with our families, quality time doing things that we would like to do, leisure. So this is having a negative effect on the quality of life of people. It's
Obviously,
obvious.
people are not attracted to using public transport very much.
We have a situation where we need to have an efficient public transport system. Something that people will actually decide not to use their car, but to use the public transport system. I think till now, this government has failed in creating that system. The Nationalist Party, during the last manifest, came up with a proposal, the trackless tram, which was actually gaining ground. Unfortunately, this government did not take on that proposal either. And we're at the status quo, because we have a situation where you have public transport not being used by the majority of people who actually use their cars. It's more being used by third country nationals who do not have a car, which use it to get from one place to the other, from home to work. And we need to see what improvements we have to make. To be fair, it's not an easy issue. And it's not something that you're just going to snap your fingers and correct. But we have to start. And we have to start, I think, with a bold proposals and identify a situation where, yes, people will decide to not use their car and revert to this alternative transport system.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for sharing this current affairs briefing in English. We're just stopping for a short commercial break. Grazzi Sinjuri li segwitu il-programm illum Ġrajiet Kurrenti ma' Ivan Castillo mill-Parlament ta' Malta, l-Kamra tal-Oppożizzjoni. Sa nifqu għal waqfa qasira jiena Lea Hogg għal Net TV.